If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. The world has grown comfortable with weakness. Noise replaced thought. Comfort replaced strength. People mistake emotion for truth. Every setback, a crisis. Every silence, a threat. Every challenge, an insult. Strength has become rare because discipline has become optional. But the Stoic knows comfort is decay disguised as peace. Softness does not protect you, it erases you. There comes a point where you stop adapting to decay, where you stop reacting and start ruling yourself. The Stoic builds this rule through restraint, through repetition, through law. No drama, no noise, only control. You rise by mastering what others waste. Focus, emotion, will. This is not motivation. This is reconstruction. You don't wait for the world to change. You become the structure it cannot bend. This is endurance as architecture, pain turned into permanence. This is mastery built from order, not impulse. It's becoming your own authority, your own law, your own calm dominion. When softness dies, clarity is born. When clarity hardens into law, identity becomes permanent. What remains is the Stoic form, disciplined, unshakable, timeless. Softness begins where standards end. It does not arrive with a warning. It seeps into conduct through comfort, through excuses, through the gradual surrender of small disciplines. The world today rewards convenience and celebrates fragility. People confuse ease with happiness and validation with worth. They believe resilience is cruelty and restraint is repression. Yet the Stoic knows softness is the beginning of decay, a slow corrosion of mind and spirit that destroys one's capacity to lead, endure, and see clearly. Softness hides behind politeness. It disguises itself as sensitivity, as tolerance, as open-mindedness. But underneath, it is weakness, the inability to stand firm when the world pushes against conviction. When a person stops demanding excellence from themselves, they lose more than progress. They lose identity. Discipline gives form to the soul. Without it, the mind collapses into passivity. What once was command becomes drift. Softness multiplies because it feels safe. People trade confrontation for comfort, silence for integrity, distraction for purpose. Every choice that avoids difficulty teaches the mind to expect ease. The Stoics understood this contagion. Seneca wrote, "A person who indulges themselves grows weak in their own indulgence. The body becomes a servant to impulse, and the will erodes under the illusion of self-care. The individual begins to rot from within, not through failure, but through softness." Modern culture is designed to soften you. It promises comfort at every corner. Entertainment numbs the will. Technology removes friction. Pleasure becomes a substitute for peace. Convenience masquerades as progress. Each small surrender, skipping the workout, ignoring the plan, postponing the hard conversation, compounds into moral debt. People call it self-compassion, but it is avoidance refined into philosophy. The Stoic rejects this. Life without resistance is decay. Hardship must be chosen if it no longer comes naturally. The world will not test you enough to make you strong. You must impose difficulty on yourself. Wake early. Confront your weakness. Do what you least want to do. Each act of resistance strengthens the mind's command over the body. Epictetus taught that no person is free who cannot control themselves. Freedom begins when comfort loses its authority. A soft person is enslaved by their own preferences. To stop being soft, one must first see softness clearly. It is not about emotion. It is about the structure of conduct. A soft person breaks when reality resists them. A hardened person adjusts without complaint. Strength is not aggression. It is stability, the refusal to collapse under pressure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the rock against which the waves crash. It stands firm, and the raging sea falls still around it." The Stoic hardens not to dominate others, but to govern themselves. The goal is not hardness for its own sake. It is internal order. To face pain without panic. To meet comfort without indulgence. To act without being moved by approval or rejection. Every discipline builds a wall within, not to isolate, but to preserve strength. Softness melts these walls until nothing holds shape. Softness begins when the individual stops questioning themselves. They accept their impulses as truth. They allow emotion to become justification. They confuse peace with laziness and rest with surrender. They hide behind the language of balance to avoid the demands of discipline. Real peace is not the absence of strain. It is mastery within strain. The person who cannot endure discomfort cannot lead themselves. To eliminate softness, you must confront comfort as an enemy. Comfort is the assassin of progress. Every time you seek it, you trade growth for relief. The Stoic trains by friction, exposing the mind to controlled hardship until it becomes indifferent to it. Cold water, silence, solitude, restraint, these are not punishments but exercises in power. Each denial of impulse strengthens the command center of the soul. Society calls this cruelty. It calls self-control toxic, aggression outdated, austerity unnecessary. But civilizations fall when comfort replaces courage. No empire has survived luxury. No human spirit has remained strong under indulgence. The Stoic knows softness is not kindness. It is decay disguised as virtue. The person who spares themselves all pain spares themselves all growth. In a culture obsessed with validation, Stoic hardness becomes rebellion. To stop being soft, you must choose isolation from noise, withdraw from distraction, limit the comfort that weakens judgment, guard your time as if it were sacred currency. Every moment surrendered to laziness is stolen from clarity. The person who cannot endure boredom will never master focus. Simplicity is strength. The soft person demands external motivation. They wait for perfect conditions, for energy, for inspiration. The strong person acts independent of mood. Discipline is not emotion, it is law. It does not ask how you feel, it asks what must be done. Each day becomes training, to work without applause, to sacrifice without notice, to act without reward. The Stoic path is self-sufficiency of spirit. Softness feeds on noise, constant information, endless stimulation, emotional reaction. The Stoic cuts through it with silence. When you stop reacting, you reclaim control. The soft mind is addicted to external motion. The strong mind finds motion within stillness. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity, seeing without distortion, acting without interference. Strength begins where impulse ends. You stop being soft the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. Each time you debate discipline, weakness grows. Each time you obey hesitation, you strengthen doubt. The Stoic learns to act cleanly, not hurried, not hesitant, but decisive. Internal dialogue becomes command. You tell yourself what to do, and you do it. This is the architecture of strength. The mind becomes fortress, not theater. Softness wants comfort to last. Strength sees comfort as temporary. Hardship must always have a place. Without it, the system rusts. A soft person cannot endure silence because they hear themselves too clearly. The Stoic uses silence as sharpening stone. They face their own thoughts until fear loses language. They become immune to triviality. This is how composure is forged, through voluntary confrontation with the uncomfortable. When life tests you, softness shows itself instantly. It panics, it blames, it collapses. Strength remains neutral. It absorbs reality without dramatizing it. The Stoic does not expect fairness, they expect endurance. They do not seek perfect conditions, they create stability through character. Life will not become easier, you will become stronger. That is the difference between softness and order. The soft person wants outcomes. The Stoic focuses on conduct. When the will aligns with principle, outcomes become irrelevant. The soft person measures worth by validation. The strong person measures it by control over themselves. Softness fears judgment. Strength ignores it. Character does not ask for permission to be disciplined. Softness hides in modern morality. It preaches acceptance without standards. It confuses empathy with indulgence. Compassion without boundaries becomes decay. The Stoic helps without surrendering their integrity. They give without losing discipline. They care without collapsing. A soft person tries to be liked. A strong person aims to be consistent. Every generation drifts toward comfort until something forces them back to difficulty. The Stoic does not wait for collapse to wake up. They create structure in peace, so they remain unshaken in chaos. They train while others rest. They prepare while others celebrate. They see softness as disease and prevention as duty. Softness ends where structure begins. You must design your life to resist ease. Routine is not prison, it is armor. The schedule you follow when you do not feel like it becomes your foundation when life falls apart. The Stoic builds this through repetition, waking, training, thinking, working. No emotion dictates the standard dictates emotion. To stop being soft, stop arguing with difficulty, accept it as the path. Hardship is not punishment, it is purification. Pain refines the self. Fear exposes what still controls you. When you can act calmly under strain, you have reached sovereignty. When the world cannot provoke you, you have reached order. When you no longer flinch at discomfort, you have begun to live with power. Softness will always tempt you. It will whisper that you deserve rest, indulgence, validation. Remember, luxury erodes character faster than adversity. The Stoic seeks balance, but never comfort without cost. Rest after completion, not before it. Peace after order, not before effort. Calm after strength, not in place of it. The world will remain soft. Let it. Your task is to remain firm, to preserve the edge that others abandon, to act without complaint, to think without distraction, to build habits so strict that temptation becomes irrelevant. That is how you rise above decay. The Stoic does not escape the world, they outlast it. Softness ends when you decide that comfort is no longer your goal. Strength begins when discipline becomes your peace. Stay hard, stay ordered, stay calm. The world bends to those who cannot be softened. Endurance is the final proof of discipline. When pleasure fades, when recognition disappears, endurance remains. It is the test that reveals whether a person's strength was built on routine or on conviction. A soft person stops when conditions change. A Stoic continues, not because they enjoy it, but because they have decided to outlast everything that weakens lesser minds. Authority over the self begins here, in the capacity to persist without approval, to suffer without complaint, to keep moving when nothing rewards you for it. Restraint is the twin of endurance. It is not the suppression of emotion, but the governance of it. The Stoic does not kill their fire, they contain it. Every impulse restrained becomes redirected force. Anger becomes precision. Desire becomes discipline. Pain becomes structure. This transformation does not happen through inspiration. It happens through daily control of the self. Each time you resist excess, you build authority. The mind learns to obey itself. That is the foundation of Stoic power. Endurance refines perception. Those who suffer willingly develop sight. Others lose in comfort. Pain strips away illusion. When you learn to hold composure under strain, you begin to see what is real, what still controls you, what you still fear, what you truly value. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." Complaints weaken command. Acceptance builds control. The Stoic does not dramatize adversity. They absorb it and transform it into order. Every act of restraint is a declaration of authority. The mind that can deny pleasure owns itself. The one that must indulge to feel alive is already enslaved. Endurance, when practiced with clarity, becomes sacred. It is not punishment, but purification. When you endure hardship consciously, you prove that your spirit is no longer reactive. It directs itself. In this, the Stoic finds freedom not in ease, but in control. Freedom without control is chaos disguised as liberation. The modern world teaches resistance is cruelty, that restraint is outdated, that discomfort is failure. Yet every enduring structure in nature is built through resistance. The tree through wind, the muscle through strain, the mountain through time. Endurance is alignment with reality. The Stoic learns that life is not meant to be escaped, but mastered. To endure is to live without surrender. Every hardship becomes training in permanence. Authority does not come from volume, it comes from the silence behind control. The person who can remain composed when provoked holds power over the one who reacts. The Stoic does not shout their conviction, they embody it. Command is not assertion, it is presence. When your conduct aligns with law, when your actions remain consistent despite feeling, you create an atmosphere that speaks louder than force. Authority is the visible calm of internal mastery. To endure is to outlast illusion. The soft person lives for comfort. The disciplined person lives for clarity. Comfort fades, clarity compounds. The one who can withstand boredom, repetition, and solitude reaches depth unavailable to the restless. Most people break not from pain, but from monotony. The Stoic uses repetition to build power. Each day of disciplined sameness becomes weight added to the internal foundation. Over years, this becomes immovable strength. Restraint teaches you to hold power without abusing it. Endurance teaches you to face loss without collapse. Together they create balance, the unshakable mind that neither pride nor despair can distort. The Stoic does not seek extremes. They maintain equilibrium in motion. They act without haste, respond without emotion, and endure without spectacle. This is the invisible architecture of dominion. Authority is born from restraint under power. Anyone can appear disciplined when weak. True discipline reveals itself when strength increases. To control yourself when you can dominate others, that is Stoic command. The weak seek to prove, the strong remain silent. Control over impulse is the highest form of sovereignty. The one who commands themselves cannot be commanded by circumstance. Endurance redefines your relationship with time. The soft person lives for the moment. The Stoic lives within the moment. There is no escape into fantasy, no waiting for the right condition. Action becomes constant. Endurance means showing up even when the outcome is invisible. Each day is a chance to sharpen presence. Time is the battlefield where endurance proves identity. Those who cannot wait cannot lead. Restraint converts chaos into clarity. The undisciplined chase stimulation, the Stoic subtracts. Through minimalism of thought and conduct, they remove noise until truth becomes visible. Simplicity is not weakness, it is refinement. Each unnecessary indulgence removed from life increases inner authority. To live with less is to live with precision. Power demands focus, and focus is born from restraint. The soft person confuses patience with passivity. The Stoic knows patience is tactical control of energy. They do not waste themselves on premature reaction. They move when it is time, not when emotion demands. Patience is endurance measured through reason. It allows a person to see without interference. That is how judgment stays clear under pressure, by waiting without losing direction. To endure means to accept friction as part of existence. Pain becomes neutral. The Stoic does not flee discomfort, they organize it. By facing hardship directly, they reduce its power. The fear of pain hurts more than pain itself. When you act despite fear, you prove to the mind that it is not sovereign. That is the secret of endurance, to act even when the mind resists, until the body and spirit follow the command of reason. Restraint also governs speech. Authority is diminished by noise. The Stoic speaks with precision, never excess. Each word must serve order. Silence becomes language. The person who can stay silent in tension demonstrates more power than the one who fills it with noise. Silence is not absence, it is control. Through restraint in words, the Stoic preserves their composure, conserving strength for action. Endurance creates depth of character. Those who live in comfort remain shallow because they never meet themselves under pressure. The Stoic finds identity through struggle. Hardship reveals what cannot be faked: patience, clarity, and inner stillness. When you learn to endure, you stop fearing life. There is nothing to lose because the worst has already been accepted. Fear dissolves in the presence of endurance. Authority begins when opinion loses its value. The soft person measures themselves by external reaction. The Stoic measures by internal law. When you act in alignment with principle, the noise of approval becomes irrelevant. Authority grows in silence. The disciplined person does not explain their strength. It radiates through consistency. Reputation follows those who no longer chase it. Restraint and endurance turn energy inward until it becomes stability. This is why Stoic calm feels powerful. It is not emptiness, but compression. All energy, all emotion, all thought are contained and directed. The result is density of presence. The weak disperse energy through reaction. The strong conserve it through control. Presence, therefore, is the visible form of disciplined energy. Endurance demands detachment from results. You work without obsession for reward. You build without needing recognition. The Stoic does not stop because progress is slow. They continue because consistency itself is virtue. When the act becomes its own satisfaction, fatigue loses meaning. The strongest person is the one who can persist without audience. Restraint transforms emotional volatility into stillness. The disciplined person feels deeply but chooses calmly. Their mind functions as governor, not follower. When you master restraint, you gain access to choice, the power to act according to principle instead of reaction. Freedom without restraint is self-destruction disguised as liberty. The Stoic lives by controlled freedom, choice aligned with wisdom. To endure is to accept that difficulty is permanent. Life will always resist the unprepared. The Stoic prepares so thoroughly that resistance no longer destabilizes them. Hardship becomes expected, fatigue normalized, discomfort familiar. This constancy produces serenity. There is no shock, only adaptation. Serenity is the final form of endurance, peace inside pressure. Authority deepens through consistency. The person who can repeat excellence without fatigue builds gravity. People sense stability in repetition. Trust forms when words and actions align over time. Authority cannot be performed, it must be lived. The Stoics' discipline becomes visible through reliability. That reliability creates influence without demand. Endurance refines value. When you work through pain, you separate what matters from what distracts. The unnecessary dissolves. Every struggle clarifies the essential. The Stoics' life becomes simple not through minimalism of possessions, but through focus of purpose. This is why the disciplined appear calm. They have fewer conflicts within themselves. Their energy is not wasted on contradiction. Restraint over emotion is the highest expression of command. The person who can smile under insult, remain calm under chaos, and act with clarity in turmoil has achieved true authority. Emotion becomes fuel, not disorder. The Stoic does not eliminate feeling, they direct it. Controlled intensity replaces chaos with precision. That is what separates composure from coldness. Endurance becomes a moral discipline. To quit easily is to betray potential. To persist with integrity is to honor reason. The Stoic understands that to suffer for the right purpose is not tragedy, it is duty. They carry hardship as proof of alignment with virtue. In endurance, morality and strength merge. To be good is to remain unbroken in doing good. Restraint defines proportion. The Stoic does not overreact to success or failure. They do not inflate triumph or dramatize defeat. Their reactions stay symmetrical to truth. This proportion gives them balance in all seasons. The disciplined person cannot be manipulated by extremes. They remain centered while others swing between pride and despair. Endurance is self-respect in motion. Each time you keep going, you affirm your worth to yourself. The soft person seeks validation externally. The strong person earns it internally through consistent action. This is why endurance creates dignity. To persist when no one watches is proof of inner worth. To endure without recognition is to master pride. Restraint becomes elegance. Authority without restraint becomes tyranny. The Stoic's authority is silent because it is governed. The more control you hold, the less you must display it. Calmness becomes power's natural form. Those who are truly strong do not perform strength. They radiate it. Their presence settles chaos around them without command. Endurance turns suffering into symmetry. Each challenge endured cleanly aligns the inner structure tighter. With every repetition, the Stoic's core hardens until reaction disappears. What remains is composure that cannot be faked, a living order immune to chaos. Strength ceases to be an effort and becomes a nature. Discipline becomes identity. Restraint and endurance converge into dominion, a state where the self no longer divides. Desire and reason move as one. Emotion obeys judgment. Action follows principle. This is the Stoic's highest state, authority that requires no force, discipline that feels like calm, power that exists without performance. The mind stands unshaken, the will untouchable, the person complete. Silent influence is the power that follows discipline. When the self has been mastered, the world begins to move differently around it. People sense structure before words are spoken. The Stoic does not need to declare their strength. Their presence communicates it. Authority that is earned through restraint becomes gravitational. It draws respect without demand. It calms chaos without speech. It creates stability simply by existing within disorder. The silent influence of a Stoic is not charisma, it is coherence. Every action, every gesture, every decision aligns with internal law. This consistency builds invisible weight. In a world where most people shift with emotion, the one who remains steady becomes magnetic. Their composure makes others reconsider their own volatility. They do not influence through persuasion, but through demonstration. Strength becomes contagious when it is silent. When restraint becomes natural, power becomes subtle. The Stoic no longer reacts because nothing external defines their movement. They have built a closed circuit of energy, self-contained, self-governed. Others sense this autonomy as mystery. They cannot manipulate what does not depend on their approval. The more a person withdraws from emotional noise, the more potent their presence becomes. People follow calm because it is rare. The modern world confuses influence with noise. Everyone speaks, few command. The Stoic understands that influence increases as words decrease. Every unnecessary explanation dilutes presence. When conduct replaces speech, people listen with instinct, not curiosity. True influence is felt, not announced. The disciplined carry an atmosphere that imposes order wherever they stand. Silent authority forms through precision. The way one walks, listens, and decides reflects inner structure. Nothing is wasted. The Stoic eliminates exaggeration. Their gestures are economical, their tone steady, their focus exact. This conservation of energy creates intensity. To those around them, they appear powerful without aggression, calm without weakness. The impression left is not theatrical, it is elemental. Influence without noise is sustained by consistency. The soft person seeks impact through performance. The Stoic achieves it through repetition of principle. Each decision made under the same code becomes another layer of trust. People come to rely on the disciplined because their stability is predictable. Influence that requires attention fades. Influence that produces reliability lasts. Silence builds anticipation. The Stoic's restraint in speech forces others to consider their words more deeply. In a culture of reaction, silence feels dominant. Those who speak too quickly lose gravity. Those who pause before responding control the rhythm of interaction. This is why the calm person seems powerful. They refuse to be rushed by the emotional current of others. The Stoic's external presence is shaped by what they no longer need to prove. They do not seek validation because they already command themselves. Their calm posture communicates finality. It tells the world that persuasion is futile, that approval is irrelevant, that their direction is decided. This certainty radiates as strength. People may not understand it, but they respect it instinctively. Influence begins internally, but manifests socially. The disciplined person becomes a mirror that reflects others' disorder. In their calm, others see their own instability. In their silence, others hear their own noise. This reflection provokes awareness. The Stoic does not preach transformation, they embody it. Their mere existence challenges weakness around them. This is why true power is often resented before it is admired. To influence without words requires the alignment of three elements: posture, presence, and principle. Posture expresses the body's control over emotion. Presence expresses the mind's control over chaos. Principle expresses the soul's control over impulse. When these align, the individual becomes complete, and their completeness affects the incomplete. That is the physics of silent power. The Stoic's calm does not mean detachment from life. It means detachment from outcome. They act fully, yet remain inwardly unmoved. People sense this difference. Action without anxiety, success without arrogance, failure without collapse. It produces trust. Others feel safe around someone who does not overreact. Influence grows wherever stability lives. Silent influence thrives on minimalism. The less explained, the stronger the message. When you speak less, your words gain weight. When you reveal less, your actions carry mystery. This absence of need projects control. Most people overshare to be understood. The Stoic withholds to preserve command. Power preserved is power multiplied. Mystery is discipline in social form. In leadership, The Stoic does not motivate through excitement. They guide through stability. Hysteria fades, steadiness endures. When others lose composure, the Stoic's calm becomes anchor. Influence at this level does not depend on approval. It depends on gravity. People orbit those who do not drift. Silent authority grows strongest in crisis. Chaos exposes who truly leads. The Stoic's absence of panic becomes leadership. While others scatter, they act cleanly. Their calm creates order through example, not command. This is the highest form of power, to stabilize without force. When the crowd sees clarity in confusion, they follow instinctively. The Stoic's influence extends beyond interaction. It reaches through presence in stillness. Their routine, their discipline, their structure, all form silent testimony. Influence becomes ambient. People watching from distance feel it. The disciplined person does not try to inspire. They exist as evidence that order is possible. In a disordered age, evidence is power. When you stop reacting, you start directing. Reaction gives control away. Silence reclaims it. The Stoic never reveals inner turbulence to the unworthy. Their emotions are private property. They respond only when necessary. This selective engagement preserves energy and dignity. Those who react to everything lose both. Authority begins where reaction ends. Silent influence depends on the absence of need. The moment you need to be perceived a certain way, you lose control of perception. The Stoic needs nothing from opinion. They live by principle, not validation. This disinterest in outcome terrifies manipulators because it removes leverage. The person who cannot be bribed with approval becomes untouchable. The disciplined person learns to project calm even under pressure. This is not deception. It is hierarchy. Emotion is secondary to conduct. When you appear calm, the environment adapts to your rhythm. Panic spreads faster than reason, but so does composure. Your restraint trains others to slow down. You set the emotional pace of the room without a single command. That is influence in its purest form. The Stoic's external authority is quiet precision. They do not waste words convincing. They live standards. Those standards speak louder than persuasion. When they act, it is final. When they speak, it is measured. People learn that silence from them carries meaning, that awareness breeds respect. The disciplined do not demand obedience. They evoke it through example. Influence becomes enduring only when it rests on integrity. Deception may produce short power, but it collapses under scrutiny. The Stoics' influence is sustainable because it is honest. Nothing within them contradicts itself. Their calm is real, their restraint authentic. This coherence builds trust so solid it outlasts circumstance. Authority without alignment decays. Alignment without noise endures. The highest form of influence is invisible. When your discipline shapes others without their awareness, you have reached mastery. The Stoic affects the environment by simply existing in it. Their silence redefines the standard. People begin to act differently, think differently, aspire differently, not because they were told to, but because they have witnessed control that cannot be explained. Power earned in silence never announces itself. It arrives unnoticed, but its effects are unmistakable. The Stoic walks through chaos unchanged, and chaos rearranges itself in response. The loud seek followers. The disciplined attract order. Their strength organizes reality. They do not lead from desire. They lead from gravity. And gravity requires no voice. Silent influence is not passive. It is dominant. It shapes outcomes through posture, timing, and restraint. When every motion carries intention, others feel it. Authority becomes atmosphere. This is why those who have mastered themselves dominate rooms without raising their tone. Their peace becomes law, their composure a command. The Stoic's power ends where performance begins. The moment strength needs display, it becomes theater. Silent influence never performs. It acts only when required. To live this way demands absolute discipline, the ability to suppress ego, to remain unseen, to let results speak in place of emotion. The fewer gestures made, the sharper each one cuts. Restraint intensifies impact. The world misinterprets silence as weakness because it cannot imagine strength without noise. Yet all enduring forces in nature operate quietly. Gravity, time, patience. The Stoic mirrors these laws. Their stillness carries inevitability. They do not chase attention, they attract consequence. Those who move in noise burn fast. Those who move in silence endure. True power does not need to prove itself. It refines, contains, and directs. The Stoic understands that every act of unnecessary speech, every moment of uncontrolled emotion, dilutes influence. The disciplined conserve their energy until it becomes pressure. Then, when action is required, it lands with undeniable force. One act of controlled power outweighs 100 acts of reaction. Silent influence matures into legacy. Long after words are forgotten, conduct remains. The Stoic builds this permanence through years of consistency. Their impact survives them because it was never based on noise. Their silence becomes memory, their discipline becomes myth. Those who once underestimated them begin to shape their lives around the example they left. That is immortality through order. Silent influence is the reflection of complete sovereignty. It is what happens when the mind, emotion, and will move as one. Nothing leaks, nothing wavers. The Stoic becomes a living law of balance. Their presence reforms disorder, their stillness instructs chaos, their restraint commands respect. That is the apex of power, when silence speaks and the world listens. Detachment is not absence, it is command. To detach is to stop being moved by what does not deserve motion. It is the discipline of retaining control when the world demands reaction. The Stoic understands that attachment is dependency, and dependency is weakness. Whatever has the power to disturb your peace owns a part of you. Detachment is the process of reclaiming ownership of the self, not by retreating from life, but by mastering its influence. The disciplined mind does not reject emotion, it organizes it. Every feeling has its place, but none are allowed to dictate direction. The Stoic feels deeply, yet remains unmoved. Joy does not make them reckless. Pain does not make them bitter. Emotion becomes information, not command. This balance is achieved through repeated exposure to difficulty without collapse. Detachment matures through endurance. To rule yourself completely, you must first stop chasing control over others. The soft person seeks influence outwardly. The disciplined seek mastery inwardly. External control is illusion. It depends on cooperation. Internal control is law. It depends on discipline. The Stoic stops trying to control people, outcomes, and reputation. They direct their will toward the only domain that cannot be taken, their own response. Detachment is clarity under attachment's disguise. The world trains people to chase validation, approval, status, recognition. These create dependence disguised as purpose. When the applause stops, their sense of self collapses. The Stoic avoids this trap by building identity independent of praise. To detach from validation is to free oneself from manipulation. The person who needs nothing cannot be controlled. Outcome detachment is mastery over time. The impatient mind lives in tension. It demands results to justify effort. The Stoic separates process from reward. They understand that the act itself is the reward, that virtue exists in the execution, not the applause. The outcome is irrelevant when conduct remains perfect. Detachment makes effort sacred. The practice of detachment begins with observation. Watch yourself desire, watch yourself react. Every moment of craving reveals a chain. Each time you feel fear, notice what it is tied to: comfort, image, control. The Stoic studies these ties until the pattern becomes visible. Then, with deliberate practice, they cut each link through discipline. They stop chasing what weakens them. They stop fearing what they cannot control. To detach is to choose serenity over stimulation. The world runs on agitation, constant emotion, endless noise, perpetual distraction. People mistake restlessness for life. The Stoic withdraws from this noise not through isolation, but through focus. Detachment is silence in motion, the ability to stay calm while the world burns in reaction. Power belongs to those who can stay unmoved while others are provoked. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it is refinement. The Stoic still feels, but they do not identify with the feeling. They can hold sadness without drowning in it, success without arrogance, insult without anger. They understand that feelings are visitors, not rulers. The undisciplined serve their moods. The Stoic observes them. Awareness creates distance, distance creates control. Attachment blinds judgment. The more you desire something, the less you see it clearly. The Stoic removes distortion by reducing need. When you stop needing outcomes, you start seeing truth. Clarity replaces emotion as the guiding principle. The detached mind makes better decisions because it is unclouded by desire. Wisdom begins where need ends. Detachment from validation is detachment from ego. Ego feeds on recognition. It constantly measures itself against perception. The Stoic starves ego through silence and work. They detach not by suppressing ambition, but by cleansing it. The goal becomes excellence without exhibition. To act well for its own sake, that is pure command. Detachment from people is not the rejection of love, it is the purification of it. The Stoic does not depend on affection to remain stable. They give freely without demanding reciprocity. Their peace is self-generated. When you no longer require others to behave as you wish, you free both yourself and them. True detachment creates cleaner relationships, affection without dependency, respect without control. The discipline of detachment transforms presence. The detached individual carries no emotional debt. They walk through life unburdened by memory, unaffected by projection. People sense this neutrality as power. It cannot be faked. It is not indifference. It is inner symmetry. Those who master detachment are not cold. They are balanced beyond reach. The path to detachment passes through loss. You must lose illusions to gain control. Every attachment that breaks is a test of sovereignty. The Stoic welcomes loss as clarification. What remains after loss is what was real. When the mind no longer resists impermanence, peace replaces fear. To detach from permanence is to align with reality. The Stoic loves deeply but accepts endings calmly. To detach is to choose inner law over outer emotion. The undisciplined seek meaning through intensity. The Stoic seeks meaning through order. Detachment allows one to act cleanly under chaos, to decide by principle, not by impulse. This is the true measure of freedom. Not the ability to do anything, but the ability to remain consistent through everything. Detachment from approval liberates energy. When you stop performing, you start improving. The mind once occupied with impression becomes available for mastery. Silence replaces self-promotion. The Stoic's worth is internal. It does not require confirmation. Every act of detachment reclaims attention from illusion. Energy saved from validation becomes force for action. The detached person does not reject the world. They engage it without dependence. They can enjoy success without clinging, endure failure without despair. They live fully, but not fearfully. The Stoic treats each experience as temporary and each reaction as a choice. That is why they appear calm. Nothing owns them. Attachment thrives in scarcity. The mind clings to what it fears to lose. Detachment is born from abundance, the realization that peace is always available when discipline is maintained. When you no longer chase satisfaction, you start generating it. The Stoic does not wait for calm, they create it. Detachment is not escape. It is creation of internal order regardless of external noise. To detach from outcomes is to trust conduct. The Stoic measures success by execution, not result. If the act was right, the outcome is irrelevant. This discipline removes anxiety because nothing external can invalidate virtue. When you have done your part completely, peace follows automatically. Control ends where effort ends. Emotional restraint and detachment share roots. Restraint prevents reaction. Detachment prevents identification. Together they form the architecture of sovereignty. When you can both feel and remain free from what you feel, you have transcended control. You have entered command. Detachment converts feeling into clarity and clarity into strength. The world will call detachment arrogance because it confuses calm with distance. But the Stoic knows real closeness requires freedom. You cannot connect deeply if you are enslaved by fear of loss. Detachment deepens connection because it removes possession. What remains is purity, interaction without control, care without weakness. To detach from emotion is to reclaim judgment. Feelings distort time. They make small moments feel eternal, and eternal truths feel distant. The Stoic observes emotion as data, not direction. They use feeling as feedback, not foundation. This detachment creates equilibrium, the ability to move rationally in irrational times. Detachment requires repetition. You cannot think your way into freedom, you must train it. Each small instance of self-restraint becomes practice. Ignore the urge to respond, the impulse to defend, the need to explain. Let silence carry weight. Each time you remain still under pressure, you gain command. Detachment grows through exercised patience. The detached mind does not resist emotion, it rides it. Like a wave, it rises and falls without clinging. The Stoic watches emotion move through them until it passes, leaving insight behind. The untrained drown in the same wave. The difference is not feeling, it is control. Detachment gives emotion structure. It turns reaction into understanding. Attachment corrupts strength. The more you need something, the less power you have over it. The Stoic removes need until every possession, title, and outcome becomes optional. This does not reduce engagement, it sharpens it. To hold the world loosely is to interact with precision. Detachment creates efficiency, nothing wasted on obsession. Detachment purifies ambition. Ambition without detachment becomes greed. The Stoic aspires without desperation. They pursue excellence with calm intensity. They can let go at any moment without collapse. Detachment transforms pursuit into art, focused, disciplined, unemotional. Ambition under detachment becomes timeless drive. The highest form of detachment is spiritual neutrality. It is the condition where nothing external defines inner peace. Whether fortune rises or falls, the Stoic remains equal. They accept pleasure and pain as different faces of the same law. Nothing gained intoxicates them. Nothing lost diminishes them. This constancy is divine order, the spirit aligned with nature itself. To rule yourself completely is to be immune to extremes. Praise cannot inflate you, criticism cannot wound you, gain does not seduce, loss does not destroy. You move cleanly through contradiction because your balance is internal. The Stoic who masters detachment becomes ungovernable by circumstance. They have become law within chaos. Detachment does not mean withdrawal from passion. It is passion purified of need. The Stoic lives intensely but cleanly. They give their full effort to every moment, yet remain calm in every outcome. This is the paradox of mastery. To care deeply without clinging, to engage fully without fear, to love without attachment. The disciplined achieve this through repetition of perspective, constant return to reason. Detachment is the summit of endurance. It cannot be reached without pain. The person who can detach in suffering has reached unbreakable strength. When pain no longer disturbs, when loss no longer destabilizes, when pleasure no longer blinds, you have reached self-rule. Detachment is not withdrawal from life. It is the perfect participation in it, unbound by fear or desire. In this state, power becomes stillness. The Stoic acts without needing to react, gives without needing to be seen, and endures without needing reward. They have become complete, neither dependent nor indifferent. Detachment is not the end of emotion, it is its rightful order. To rule yourself completely is to experience everything and remain free through all of it. Indifference is not apathy, it is freedom. To be indifferent is to exist beyond the reach of praise, fear, and emotion, to act from principle alone. The Stoic understands that to react is to be controlled. The world can tempt, insult, flatter, or threaten, but none of these can touch the person who has disciplined their response. Indifference is not a lack of care. It is the perfect alignment of care with reason. The mind no longer bends under opinion. It stands still under every condition. The disciplined practice of indifference begins with clarity. You must know what truly matters and what does not. Praise, reputation, approval, fear, and comfort. These belong to the external world. They are beyond command. The Stoic directs energy only toward conduct. To live this way is to reverse the hierarchy of influence. Nothing external dictates the internal. This inversion is what separates the strong from the weak, the stable from the restless. Praise is a subtle chain. It feels harmless because it flatters the ego. Yet each compliment teaches dependency. When you begin to rely on admiration, you forfeit autonomy. The Stoic accepts praise as information, not validation. It does not change their standard. To need recognition is to surrender control of effort. Indifference to praise means to act with equal precision in obscurity and fame. The disciplined person remains the same in silence and spotlight. Fear is the opposite chain. It distorts reason by magnifying what could go wrong. Fear imagines, exaggerates, and paralyzes. The Stoic confronts fear not through denial, but through exposure. They train themselves to meet discomfort until fear loses its leverage. The more you face what you fear, the smaller it becomes. Indifference to fear does not mean recklessness, it means proportion. The Stoic sees reality exactly as it is, no worse, no better. Fear dissolves in the light of reason. Emotion is the third chain, the most deceptive, the most powerful. Emotion is not the enemy, enslavement to it is. The Stoic disciplines emotion through observation. They do not suppress feeling. They watch it rise and fall like a tide. In that observation, emotion loses its authority. Indifference to emotion means to feel deeply without surrendering clarity. Anger, sadness, joy, All pass through the trained mind without displacing its foundation. Indifference is internal armor. It shields the mind from the volatility of life. The Stoic does not need circumstances to align with preference. They remain stable regardless of gain or loss. This stability is not learned through comfort, but through confrontation. You must expose yourself to extremes until they lose power. Wealth and poverty, success and failure, love and rejection, these opposites lose meaning when seen as temporary. The Stoic sees only principle. All else is decoration. Indifference is not detachment from life. It is detachment from distortion. It allows full participation without emotional corruption. The person who can remain calm while others oscillate between elation and despair becomes a pillar. Indifference does not weaken empathy, it strengthens it. To feel without drowning is to help without losing direction. This is why the Stoic remains compassionate but unbroken. They give what is right, not what is requested. Praise seduces the ego, fear enslaves the will, emotion clouds the mind. Indifference liberates all three. When you no longer chase flattery, flee discomfort, or obey feeling, you have reclaimed command. The Stoic operates from a clean core. Their actions are consistent because they are immune to extremes. Praise cannot inflate them. Insult cannot wound them. They are not beyond feeling. They are beyond dependence. The discipline of indifference must be practiced deliberately. Every day you are tested by reaction. A compliment, a criticism, a fear, all demand attention. The Stoic learns to pause between stimulus and response. In that pause lies mastery. Indifference is not passive resistance, it is active control. To choose when and how to respond is the essence of strength. To be indifferent to praise is to value truth above comfort. Compliments can be as dangerous as insults. Both appeal to ego. The Stoic filters them through principle. If praise is deserved, they remain neutral. If it is false, they remain neutral. Their identity rests in action, not in perception. This neutrality is rare because it is costly. It requires full independence of mind. To be indifferent to fear is to know impermanence. Everything feared has an end. Every pain, every uncertainty, every threat eventually changes form. Fear gains power only from exaggeration. The Stoic reduces fear to proportion, a challenge to meet, not a sentence to suffer. They face life directly, without dramatization. Courage, therefore, is the calm expression of indifference. To be indifferent to emotion is to regain precision. The untrained mind swings between hope and despair. The trained mind holds symmetry. It feels, but it does not become the feeling. Anger arrives, and the Stoic analyzes it. Joy arises, and the Stoic stabilizes it. Sadness appears, and the Stoic honors it without surrendering to it. Indifference is equilibrium, the ability to experience all things without losing center. Indifference produces authority. Those who are moved least command the most. The crowd obeys its impulses, the disciplined direct them. The Stoic who remains calm in chaos becomes the anchor for others. Leadership, in its highest form, is composure under pressure. People follow certainty, and indifference creates certainty. It signals that you are not ruled by the same fears that rule them. The indifferent mind is not empty, it is clear. In clarity, purpose becomes visible. When praise no longer distracts and fear no longer distorts, focus becomes absolute. The Stoic achieves maximum efficiency because no energy is wasted on reaction. Every decision is clean, every action precise. The indifferent person becomes an instrument of reason in a world of noise. Indifference to praise also frees you from imitation. Most people adjust their conduct to maintain approval. The Stoic remains consistent even when misunderstood. They understand that greatness is often misinterpreted before it is respected. To be indifferent to misunderstanding is to be untouchable. The disciplined care for truth, not image. Truth is the only audience that endures. Indifference to fear frees you from hesitation. When outcomes no longer control emotion, action becomes fluid. The Stoic acts when action is right, not when it feels safe. Safety is irrelevant. Alignment is everything. This detachment from outcome produces calm aggression, relentless movement without anxiety. The indifferent person is unstoppable because nothing can manipulate their willingness. Indifference to emotion transforms energy. Instead of being consumed by mood, the Stoic channels feeling into focus. Every surge of anger becomes precision. Every spark of desire becomes discipline. Every wave of sadness becomes perspective. The emotional economy is inverted. Nothing is wasted, everything refined. This is not emotional suppression, it is emotional conversion. The practice of indifference must begin small. Ignore one insult without reply. Receive one compliment without indulgence. Face one fear without hesitation. Each act of indifference trains the nervous system to remain calm. Over time, this calm becomes instinct. The mind no longer flinches under stress. It observes. The result is psychological invulnerability. Indifference is often mistaken for pride because it refuses to perform insecurity. The Stoic does not rush to prove worth. They do not chase validation through reaction. Their quiet is not arrogance, it is mastery. The loud announce power, the disciplined embody it. Silence is the mark of inner control. Those who have conquered reaction no longer compete for attention. The indifferent person becomes difficult to manipulate because they are not reactive. Flattery does not lure them. Criticism does not destabilize them. They cannot be bribed by comfort or threatened by pain. This neutrality gives them leverage in every negotiation. Power always belongs to the one who needs least. Indifference is the ultimate form of power because it removes all leverage from others. To achieve indifference, one must accept imperfection. You cannot control everything. You can only control yourself. The Stoic accepts the limits of command and focuses entirely within them. This acceptance creates serenity. Every time you release what cannot be controlled, you reclaim peace. Every time you refuse to react, you fortify reason. Indifference is not emptiness, it is fullness contained. It is the equilibrium of a mind that has felt everything and been owned by nothing. The Stoics' calm is not absence of feeling, but mastery within it. They have passed through desire, fear, anger, and loss, and returned unmoved. What remains is power without tension, peace without apathy, strength without display. To be indifferent is to walk through praise and insult as if through wind. It touches you, but it cannot move you. To fear nothing and crave nothing is to be free. The Stoic does not chase happiness. They embody it through order. Their satisfaction does not rise or fall with the world. It is anchored in conduct. That is the discipline of indifference, the final stage of command where emotion obeys reason and the mind stands untouchable. Mastery begins as discipline, but it does not remain there. Discipline is the repetition of control. Mastery is the transformation of that control into nature. At first, the mind must force itself toward order. Over time, order becomes instinct. The Stoic trains not to act disciplined, but to become discipline itself. The line between effort and being dissolves. This is the permanence of mastery, when restraint, focus, and composure are no longer choices but reflexes. The early stages of discipline require resistance. Every act demands decision, every motion encounters friction, but repetition carves identity. The same habits repeated under clarity form new neural architecture, moral structure, and psychological rhythm. The Stoic understands that true progress is invisible. Each act of discipline writes a line in the unconscious. Eventually, conduct and identity merge. The person no longer practices, they embody. When discipline becomes identity, fatigue disappears. The act of doing no longer drains because the action has become natural. Mastery eliminates internal debate. The weak live in constant argument with themselves. The strong move without hesitation. This is not automation, it is alignment. When thought, intention, and execution move as one, life gains stillness. Motion continues, but resistance ends. The permanence of mastery requires years of repetition under strain. It cannot be accelerated by inspiration. Emotion fuels beginners. Mastery is fueled by law. The Stoic obeys internal structure even when feeling is absent. They know that consistency is stronger than intensity. 1,000 small repetitions form more power than a single burst of passion. This is why the disciplined outlast the ambitious. The goal is not performance, it is permanence. Performance fades when attention fades. Permanence remains when no one watches. The Stoic trains for the unseen moment, the quiet repetition, the private victory that strengthens the unseen core. When discipline survives solitude, mastery begins. What is repeated without witness becomes permanent. Mastery refines desire until only order remains. The untrained chase excitement. The master values stillness. Excitement fluctuates, stillness sustains. In this stillness, excellence repeats itself effortlessly. The Stoic acts without fanfare, driven not by reward, but by identity. When conduct is law, effort becomes peace. The body obeys what the mind has made absolute. The permanence of mastery erases instability. Doubt fades because structure replaces emotion. When the mind knows what must be done, choice becomes irrelevant. Routine is no longer prison, it is rhythm. The Stoic wakes, trains, works, and reflects, not because of motivation, but because it is who they are. To break the pattern would be to betray the self. In mastery, resistance is internalized as peace. The pain that once demanded endurance becomes background noise. The mind ceases to dramatize. It operates with calm precision. Obstacles are integrated into the process, not resented as interruptions. The Stoic no longer asks why difficulty exists. They ask only how to proceed. That question keeps them in motion long after others stop. Permanence is the final form of discipline. It is what happens when consistency becomes identity. The Stoic no longer disciplines the self. They are the discipline. This transformation cannot be faked or borrowed. It is earned through time, repetition, and sincerity. The surface of mastery appears calm because the struggle has already been resolved internally. What remains is clean motion. The master no longer needs rules. They have become law. When principles are fully absorbed, behavior follows naturally. This is not arrogance, but evolution. External reminders fade because internal law has replaced them. The Stoic's actions remain pure without oversight. Integrity becomes self-sustaining. Order no longer depends on circumstance. It radiates from within. To reach permanence, you must outlast failure. The disciplined person uses failure as refinement, not discouragement. Each mistake is treated as data, not judgment. This neutral approach prevents emotional erosion. The Stoic does not identify with success or failure. They identify with precision. The process becomes its own justification. When this mindset matures, mastery cannot regress. Mastery demands still repetition long after novelty fades. The untrained seek variation to feel progress. The disciplined find depth in sameness. Within repetition lies refinement. The same task performed with greater awareness becomes evolution. The Stoic repeats without boredom because they have transcended entertainment. Their satisfaction comes from accuracy, not novelty. Permanence cannot be achieved through partial effort. You cannot occasionally live by principle. The Stoic understands that consistency must be absolute. To violate discipline even once weakens identity. Mastery requires total integration, every thought, word, and gesture aligned with the same code. This precision creates purity. Purity creates permanence. When mastery becomes identity, freedom follows. The person who must think before acting is still bound. The person whose nature is already aligned with virtue acts freely. Their instinct is trustworthy. Their impulses are disciplined. Freedom is not doing what you want. It is wanting what is right automatically. This is the final evolution of command, liberty through order. Mastery carries weight without noise. The Stoic no longer needs to prove anything. Their presence communicates history, years of unseen repetition, sacrifice, and control. This gravity cannot be imitated. People feel it because it has density. The master does not perform power, they are power. Authority flows from stillness, not display. The permanence of mastery creates serenity. Once the internal war ends, the mind quiets. There is nothing left to resist. This calm is not complacency, it is the peace of alignment. Every action confirms identity, every decision reinforces law. The Stoic no longer wonders who they are, they demonstrate it with each moment. That certainty is rare, it cannot be spoken, only lived. When discipline becomes identity, fatigue transforms into rhythm. Each act repeats not as obligation, but as motion. Energy circulates cleanly. Work no longer feels like sacrifice because purpose absorbs it. The Stoic knows that mastery is not about difficulty, but constancy. Difficulty fades. Constancy endures. The untrained break when effort feels endless. The trained have forgotten the concept of stopping. Permanence is built through silence. Noise distracts from refinement. The Stoic practices in quiet because quiet reveals detail. Each breath, each motion, each thought becomes an opportunity for correction. Perfection is not reached through pressure, but through patience. The master moves slowly enough to see clearly and firmly enough to never drift. This is how identity solidifies. When mastery becomes permanent, emotion becomes servant. Anger sharpens focus, not control. Desire becomes ambition without distortion. Fear becomes preparation. All emotion is harnessed to reason. The Stoic no longer fears feeling. They have disciplined it into tool. Every surge of energy feeds order. This is emotional alchemy, the conversion of chaos into control. To sustain permanence, one must remain humble before repetition. Pride ends growth. The Stoic does not confuse mastery with completion. They see eternity in refinement. Even when perfection is reached, they continue because the act itself sustains life. The untrained chase achievement. The master inhabits process. The reward is the doing. The permanence of mastery does not harden the mind, it stabilizes it. Flexibility remains because principle, not ego, governs. The Stoic adapts without losing integrity. Their conduct bends without breaking. This balance between constancy and adaptability defines true strength. Unshakable at core, fluid in form. Identity through mastery cannot be stolen or faked. External loss cannot touch it. Reputation, wealth, or status may disappear, but conduct remains. The Stoic owns something the world cannot influence: order. When the external collapses, the internal remains untouched. That is the permanence of true wealth, virtue as possession. Mastery produces legacy without intention. The disciplined do not seek immortality. They achieve it through repetition of principle. Their example outlives them. Others imitate their structure because it radiates reliability. Influence that arises from discipline does not decay. It spreads naturally as gravity spreads. The Stoic's permanence becomes culture. To reach this state, every act must be a mirror of the ideal. The Stoic uses daily life as training. Every conversation, every decision, every reaction is practice. Over time, the distinction between practice and life disappears. This is the integration of philosophy into existence. When the ordinary becomes sacred, mastery has matured. Mastery requires solitude, not isolation, but independence from noise. The Stoic withdraws not to escape, but to refine. Silence exposes weakness, reflection strengthens it. Only through time alone can the person test whether discipline is habit or identity. The stronger the solitude, the clearer the self. Permanence grows in quiet repetition. Permanence through mastery also requires acceptance of decay. The Stoic understands that everything external will fade. The body ages, the environment shifts, but internal order can remain untouched. This acceptance transforms fear of loss into calm adaptation. The master endures because they are built on principle, not circumstance. When discipline becomes identity, life simplifies, choices shrink, the mind ceases to overthink. There is one path, the right one. This simplicity gives power. The Stoic no longer wastes energy on conflict between desire and duty. They act directly. Simplicity is not limitation, it is precision refined by time. The permanence of mastery creates inevitability. The master's actions have the force of nature. They do not strain, they unfold. Their rhythm matches truth itself. To witness this is to see control perfected, power without aggression, presence without effort. The Stoic becomes an embodiment of natural law, moving with quiet inevitability through every test. In the end, mastery's permanence is not about skill, but being. Discipline began as effort. Mastery ends as essence. The Stoic who has reached this state no longer practices restraint, composure, or patience. They are restraint, composure, and patience. Nothing external can dislodge what has become self. That is the permanence of mastery. Discipline transformed into identity, and identity into law. Internal law is the final form of discipline. It is when principle no longer feels like effort, and duty no longer feels like burden. The Stoic who reaches this stage no longer looks outward for order. They have become the order. To live under internal law is to exist within a system of self-governance so absolute that no external command can penetrate it. The mind acts as its own legislator, the will as its own enforcer, the conscience as its own judge. This is freedom that cannot be revoked. Internal law begins where obedience ends. Most people need external rules to restrain them: authority, approval, consequence. The disciplined evolve past this dependence. Their morality is not borrowed, it is self-created. The Stoic writes their own code and enforces it without witness. They do not require validation because their judgment is law enough. When one's standard comes from within, it cannot be compromised by the world. Living as your own authority means that principle overrides preference. The internal law is not adjusted to emotion. Emotion adjusts to the law. The Stoic does not negotiate with impulse. They understand that every concession weakens the system. What begins as one compromise becomes the collapse of order. This is why internal law must be absolute. It cannot bend to convenience without losing its nature. The strong remain unbending, not through arrogance but through clarity. To live by internal law is to operate without supervision. You act rightly because rightness has become natural. The presence or absence of witnesses no longer matters. The Stoics' conduct does not fluctuate with circumstance. They would act the same in darkness as in daylight, in solitude as in a crowd. This integrity is not performance, it is architecture, the foundation of all true power. The untrained live under borrowed ethics. They depend on public opinion to decide what is moral. The Stoic withdraws from this dependence. They do not measure goodness by trend or approval. Their compass is internal. This separation from collective morality is not rebellion, it is sovereignty. When you answer only to your own law, you cease to be ruled by the unstable masses. The Stoic becomes immune to manipulation because they can no longer be shamed into compliance. Internal law requires a mind that governs thought with the same precision it governs action. Every perception is judged before belief. Every belief is tested before acceptance. The Stoic's mind operates like a tribunal. Emotion may enter the court, but it has no vote. Only reason holds authority. This structure does not suppress feeling. It assigns it its proper place. The disciplined do not expel emotion. They subordinate it to command. To create internal law, one must build hierarchy within the self. Reason governs, will executes, emotion obeys. The hierarchy must remain strict. When emotion rises above reason, chaos returns. The Stoic trains daily to maintain this order. Reflection, silence, and restraint are their rituals of governance. Each day becomes a review of conduct, a hearing of conscience. They judge themselves with severity because no external punishment can equal internal disappointment. Internal law transforms time into structure. Each moment becomes regulated by principle. The Stoic moves according to rhythm, not impulse. Routine becomes the language of law. To outsiders, this appears rigid. To the disciplined, it is freedom. There is peace in knowing that every action aligns with reason. The absence of chaos is the presence of power. Authority over perception is the crown of internal law. The Stoic decides how reality will be interpreted. They assign meaning consciously, refusing to let reaction dictate narrative. This is the highest form of control, to define experience rather than be defined by it. Pain becomes instruction, failure becomes refinement, chaos becomes discipline in motion. When perception obeys reason, life itself obeys law. Internal law is the antidote to contradiction. When your principles are absolute, there is no internal debate. The mind no longer wastes energy deciding between comfort and correctness. Every situation meets the same response: act according to law. This unity of direction creates immense force. A divided mind cannot endure. A unified one becomes unstoppable. Living as your own authority removes dependence on external enforcement. The Stoic no longer fears punishment or craves reward. Virtue itself becomes the reward, corruption its own penalty. This self-contained moral system creates calm. The person ruled by inner law cannot be bribed or intimidated. They do what is right even when it costs them, because cost is irrelevant under law. To achieve this state, one must harden the conscience until it becomes incorruptible. The conscience must be trained to prefer order over comfort, duty over pleasure, clarity over convenience. The Stoic tests themselves deliberately, seeking friction to expose weakness. Each time they choose principle under pressure, the internal law strengthens. Eventually, the very thought of compromise becomes foreign. The internal law also governs language. The disciplined do not speak carelessly. Words are weighed before they are released. Every sentence must serve truth, restraint, or necessity. Speech becomes an instrument of order, not indulgence. This control of expression reinforces control of thought. The Stoic knows that speech is the first field where discipline is visible. To live by internal law is to live without excuse. The undisciplined blame circumstance, the disciplined examine conduct. Responsibility becomes complete. There is no external scapegoat, no deferred accountability. The Stoic understands that to govern oneself, one must accept total jurisdiction over action and reaction. Freedom demands ownership of consequence. Internal law requires solitude for clarity. The noise of the crowd dissolves inner order. The Stoic withdraws regularly to audit the self, not out of isolation, but purification. In silence, the voice of conscience grows distinct. Reflection becomes courtroom, thought becomes testimony. Through solitude, the Stoic renews their law, adjusting only to align closer with reason, never with convenience. Living as your own authority means establishing standards that outlast mood. Mood fluctuates, law endures. The Stoic separates feeling from function. They act correctly even when uninspired, even when exhausted. This constancy is the true measure of power. Emotion cannot disrupt what principle has made permanent. The internal law also governs reaction to praise and criticism. Both are treated as external noise. Praise cannot elevate, insult cannot diminish. The Stoic's value is already codified. They are neither inflated by approval nor wounded by scorn. To live this way is to exist in equilibrium. The mind no longer seeks reassurance because the law itself confirms worth. To maintain internal law, the Stoic must remain a student of themselves. Self-governance demands vigilance. The moment arrogance appears, decay begins. The disciplined review their motives constantly. They refine judgment through reflection. Each day they align action closer to reason. This humility within order prevents stagnation. Authority without self-examination becomes tyranny. Internal law transforms resistance into rhythm. What once required effort becomes cadence. The Stoic moves through hardship as through practice. Challenge is no longer disruption. It is reinforcement. Every trial becomes proof of law's strength. Each confrontation with difficulty reaffirms structure. This repetition builds permanence. Law tested is law confirmed. To live under internal law is to live without contradiction. The person who follows their own code cannot betray themselves. Their peace is unshakable because it does not depend on compliance from others. Betrayal from outside cannot disturb what is unified within. This is the shield of sovereignty, invulnerability through integrity. The internal law does not seek perfection, but permanence. Perfection is impossible. Permanence is sustainable. The Stoics' aim is not flawlessness, but consistency. Even in error, they remain honest. Even in defeat, they remain composed. Law does not demand success. It demands alignment. The act of remaining true under all outcomes is the highest form of order. The disciplined do not advertise their law. It is invisible, yet evident. People sense it through composure, through steadiness under stress. Authority radiates from those who govern themselves. The more complete the internal order, the quieter the external expression. Stillness becomes signal. The Stoic does not claim moral superiority. They embody moral structure. Living as your own authority means accepting that no external rule can absolve failure. The internal law is both mercy and judgment. It forgives when correction is made, but never excuses decay. This balance keeps the spirit exact. The Stoic neither condemns nor excuses, they correct. Each correction strengthens self-trust. the foundation of all discipline. The internal law's greatest test is chaos. When the environment collapses, the mind must remain structured. The Stoics' order is independent of circumstance. Fire, failure, or loss cannot dissolve it. Their law travels with them. It is both armor and compass. The person who carries inner law carries civilization within themselves. Internal law grants peace through responsibility. The more you own your actions, the less you suffer from others. Blame disappears, replaced by understanding. The Stoic ceases to resent because they have no illusions of control. They act cleanly, think clearly, and release what lies beyond command. The mind remains steady because it is governed by principle, not preference. Living as your own authority does not make you inflexible, it makes you precise. Flexibility without principle is chaos. Principle without flexibility is tyranny. The Stoic balances both through awareness. They adapt action but never alter law. This balance produces elegance, the ability to move freely within unbreakable boundaries. The final expression of internal law is peace that feels immovable. The Stoics' calm is not emotionless, it is judicial. Everything within them operates according to order. There is no wasted thought, no undisciplined motion. Their presence carries the still gravity of authority. They do not command, they represent command. Others feel law when they enter their silence. When you live by internal law, you cease to seek rulers. You become self-sufficient in morality, purpose, and peace. The external world remains chaotic, but you are not of it. You move through disorder with law inside you. This is the height of freedom, to need no supervision, no applause, and no permission to remain righteous. Internal law is the synthesis of all Stoic discipline. It is discipline made permanent, mastery made sovereign, and virtue made natural. The self becomes both citizen and ruler within a single kingdom. No empire, no society, no opinion can overthrow it. The Stoic who has reached this state no longer lives under influence. They live under law, and that law is themselves. Calm dominion is the highest expression of Stoic power. It is the state where command no longer requires effort, where control no longer demands assertion. The Stoic does not conquer through aggression, but through stillness so absolute that it bends chaos into order. Dominion begins when motion ceases to be reaction and becomes pure direction. This is power that moves without force, influence through internal gravity. The Stoic's calm is not passivity. It is contained intensity. Every emotion, every impulse, every thought is subordinated to law. The stillness others perceive is not emptiness, it is compression. All energy that once scattered in reaction has been gathered into coherence. This is why presence alone can lead. The Stoic commands not through words, but through the invisible stability that others instinctively follow. Calm dominion forms when mastery transcends performance. The disciplined no longer act disciplined, they are discipline. Their composure is not restraint, but identity. They no longer suppress reaction. Reaction no longer occurs. Each decision flows cleanly from principle. The body, the tone, the gaze, all align with law. This is authority purified of effort, power distilled into being. The world obeys the calm because it is rare. Most people are driven by urgency, by emotion, by fear. Their movement lacks center. When they encounter someone who does not move according to these forces, they sense something immovable, something immune to the noise that governs them. Calm becomes dominance because it represents independence. The person who cannot be provoked controls the one who can. The Stoics' dominion begins within perception. They control interpretation before action. Every situation passes through a filter of order. What is within control, what is not. Emotion never reaches execution without clearance from reason. This creates a calm precision that radiates authority. Others may panic, but the Stoic remains clear. In crisis, clarity becomes leadership. To hold calm under pressure is to hold the reins of reality. The undisciplined react to circumstance, the disciplined shape it. When chaos arises, people instinctively look to the stillest person in the room. That stillness signals control. It says, nothing has changed that matters. The Stoic understands that influence does not depend on command, but on presence. When the world loses rhythm, composure becomes the metronome that restores it. Calm dominion is rooted in detachment from outcome. You cannot direct what you are desperate to control. The Stoic releases expectation, yet maintains precision. They act with full intensity, free from anxiety. The result cannot alter their state because their state does not depend on it. This neutrality terrifies the weak, who rely on external success to justify motion. To the Stoic, action itself is victory. Calm does not mean delay. The Stoic moves quickly when clarity demands it. Their calm is not slowness, but sharpness, movement without hesitation or waste. Emotion adds friction. Discipline removes it. Every action is economical, exact, and deliberate. Authority grows from this efficiency. The one who wastes nothing controls everything. Dominion through calm is established through proportion. The Stoic responds to everything according to its true size. Small inconveniences receive no emotion. Large crises receive measured strategy. Nothing is exaggerated or dramatized. Proportion itself becomes power. Those who overreact reveal dependence. Those who remain composed display control. In this balance lies authority. The Stoic's presence under calm dominion carries silence as its weapon. Silence unsettles the undisciplined because it reveals their noise. In a culture addicted to reaction, restraint becomes magnetic. The fewer words the Stoic speaks, the more they are listened to. Each pause holds weight. Each glance carries precision. This is how calm transcends conversation. It becomes command through absence. The disciplined learn that calm is contagious. Emotional regulation spreads like gravity. The Stoic's composure stabilizes environments. Teams, families, and societies reflect their steadiness. This is not charisma, it is structure. When others lose discipline, they borrow it from the one who maintains it. In this way, calm becomes leadership. The unshaken stabilize the shaken. True dominion is invisible. It does not announce itself because it does not need recognition to exist. The Stoic rules their world quietly. Their influence appears effortless because it is not imposed. It emanates. People mistake this for mystery, but it is simply order in human form. The stronger the internal structure, the less external display is needed. Presence replaces performance. Calm dominion transforms conflict into opportunity. The Stoic views opposition as a test of structure. When insulted, they measure response through proportion. When opposed, they refine patience. When attacked, they remain centered. This composure frustrates aggressors and commands respect. You cannot fight what refuses to react. The unprovoked are undefeated because no force can destabilize what will not move. The Stoic's calm is not emotional suppression, it is emotional hierarchy. Fear, anger, and pride all exist, but none outrank law. Each emotion serves the command structure of reason. This internal military of the mind keeps the system intact. Discipline is not absence of conflict. It is victory through containment. Every feeling has its role, but none lead. Dominion through calm requires endurance. The Stoic practices stillness not in silence, but in storms. It is easy to appear composed when nothing tests you. Real calm is forged in chaos. The disciplined train for this through deliberate exposure to hardship. Pain, loss, and uncertainty are their exercises. With each trial, the nervous system learns neutrality. Eventually, chaos feels familiar, and the mind remains still. Calm becomes authority because it creates predictability. People trust what remains constant. When emotions fluctuate, reliability disappears. The Stoics' steadiness becomes a form of reliability others can depend on. Their reactions are consistent, their standards unchanging. Predictability breeds confidence, confidence breeds leadership. The calm ruler governs not through control of others, but through mastery of self. They do not demand obedience, they embody it. Their life becomes example rather than order. This is why the Stoic leads even in silence. People follow structure unconsciously. When they see composure under fire, they instinctively align with it. The quiet authority of discipline always supersedes the loud assertion of impulse. Dominion means existing beyond provocation. The Stoic cannot be baited into chaos. Insults lose meaning because they do not penetrate the wall of proportion. Praise loses danger because it does not alter direction. Both success and failure are treated as weather, noticed but not obeyed. The Stoic moves with the same steady pace through both. This is command, the constancy of direction under shifting skies. The person who has achieved calm dominion no longer relies on motivation. Motivation is unstable, subject to mood. Law is permanent. When you live by internal rhythm, you no longer need momentum. The Stoic acts because the act is correct. This constancy eliminates fatigue. There is no struggle between decision and duty. They have become one. The calm dominion of the Stoic is visible in posture. The body mirrors the mind's equilibrium. Movements are precise, never rushed. The face remains neutral under stress. The tone stays level under confrontation. The disciplined are unshaken not because they suppress tension, but because tension cannot access them. Their composure is physical proof of internal command. Calm dominion extends to communication. The Stoic speaks when words serve purpose, not emotion. They know that silence carries more influence than reaction. Their speech is concise, factual, free of exaggeration. When they speak, people listen because every word has weight. This economy of expression creates credibility. Authority thrives in precision. Dominion does not isolate. The Stoic's calm attracts others seeking order. People drawn to chaos find in them the opposite, a mirror that reflects what they lack. This is how calm becomes magnetism. It does not seek attention, it commands it through absence of need. The quiet mind always dominates the loud one because silence implies control. To maintain calm dominion, the Stoic must guard energy. They spend nothing on argument, outrage, or indulgence. Energy is treated as currency. Each reaction is an expenditure, each restraint a saving. Over time, this economy of power builds reserves invisible to others. The Stoic may appear motionless, but behind that calm lies immense stored force, ready but never reckless. Dominion is sustained through humility. Power without humility collapses into tyranny. The Stoic remembers that calm is not superiority. It is service to order. They do not seek to rule others, only to remain unruled by weakness. This humility preserves clarity. Pride distorts perception. Humility refines it. The calmer the mind, the clearer the vision. Calm dominion makes chaos irrelevant. The world may shout, panic, and fall apart, but the Stoic remains unbroken because their order is internal. They move through turbulence as through weather, aware but unaffected. This does not mean disconnection from humanity. It means leadership through stability. The Stoic does not join disorder to show empathy. They neutralize it through example. When calm becomes dominion, action becomes inevitable. The Stoic no longer decides to endure, they simply do. Their law no longer requires conscious enforcement. The system maintains itself. This self-sustaining calm becomes identity. The disciplined do not act strong, they are strong. The performance has ended, the permanence remains. The mark of calm dominion is silence that carries presence. In conversation, in leadership, in adversity, others feel the weight of stillness. The Stoic does not seek to be understood, they seek to embody understanding. Their calm is not absence of emotion but mastery of proportion. It is not weakness, but the refinement of power into grace. Dominion through calm is eternal influence. Words fade, actions pass, but presence endures. Those who achieve this state lead even in their absence. Their example becomes law to those who witnessed it. This is the highest form of leadership, legacy through composure. The Stoic does not strive for immortality. Their calm makes them timeless. Calm dominion is not an act of control, but of harmony. The Stoic no longer fights the world. They move in alignment with it. Every motion is deliberate, every silence measured, every reaction chosen. Nothing external dictates rhythm. The law within becomes the law of motion itself. This is power without aggression, strength without tension, and leadership without noise. The Stoic's final dominion. Uncompromising standards are the armor of the Stoic. They define the boundary between strength and decay, between clarity and confusion. When the mind accepts no dilution of its code, life becomes governed by law instead of impulse. Standards are not preferences. They are laws of conduct that cannot be negotiated. To compromise them, even once, is to fracture identity. The Stoic builds themselves around these laws until they become indistinguishable from character. The modern world rewards flexibility, but flexibility without principle is collapse. The Stoic understands that standards are not meant to adjust to mood or convenience. They remain fixed while the environment shifts. This is how order survives chaos. Each unbroken rule reinforces integrity. Each refusal to bend strengthens identity. The person who will not lower their standard, no matter the cost, becomes unshakable. Uncompromising standards are not arrogance, they are structure. They are the architecture of self-respect. When you demand excellence of yourself, you declare that mediocrity is an insult to reason. The Stoic refuses to accept the lowest version of themselves, even when no one is watching. This refusal builds power silently. To maintain order under solitude is to prove mastery beyond witness. Standards are the proof of values. Without them, philosophy is empty talk. A principle only becomes real when it dictates behavior. The Stoics' standards determine what they tolerate, how they act, and what they pursue. They do not preach self-discipline, they live it. When conduct aligns perfectly with belief, the mind finds peace. Internal contradiction disappears. What remains is moral symmetry. To live with uncompromising standards is to exist in tension. Every temptation, every distraction, every indulgence becomes a test. The Stoic welcomes this friction because it reveals strength. Standards grow sharper under resistance. Each time you say no to weakness, you sharpen clarity. The repetition of restraint carves permanence into character. Eventually, the act of refusing becomes effortless. Compromise begins in justification. One exception becomes precedent, one indulgence becomes habit. The Stoic sees this pattern clearly. They stop the erosion at the first crack. The world will always offer reasons to lower standards: comfort, emotion, fatigue. The disciplined remain indifferent to reason when reason serves weakness. Logic without principle is manipulation. Uncompromising standards demand solitude. You cannot hold your line if you need validation to maintain it. The Stoic withdraws from crowds because crowds erode judgment. Popular opinion celebrates convenience, not virtue. To remain unwavering, you must stand alone. Solitude purifies standards. In silence, the self must face its own law without distraction. A standard is not proven by ease but by endurance. The Stoic measures worth by consistency under stress. Anyone can uphold order when conditions favor it. True character is revealed when maintaining principal costs, comfort, reputation, or security. When the disciplined refuse to bend under loss, they become sovereign. Pain cannot govern a person who does not bargain with it. Uncompromising standards produce clarity in all decisions. When values are absolute, choice becomes simple. You already know the answer. Act according to the standard. Emotion may resist, but emotion does not vote. This simplicity reduces anxiety. Doubt disappears when principle decides. The Stoic acts cleanly, without hesitation. In this, every action becomes reflection of inner law. The undisciplined call high standards unrealistic. They confuse difficulty with impossibility. The Stoic understands that standards are not designed for comfort. They are designed for alignment. They are not easy because truth is not easy. The difficulty itself is what gives standards meaning. If you lower them for ease, you erase the point of having them. Uncompromising standards are contagious. They elevate every environment they enter. When one person refuses mediocrity, others are forced to confront their own. The Stoics' consistency exposes inconsistency. This is leadership through example, not command, but gravity. Standards create respect without demand. People may resist discipline, but they cannot ignore it. The disciplined mind knows that standards must apply universally. Selective integrity is hypocrisy disguised as intelligence. The Stoic does not maintain principles situationally. The law applies equally in triumph and defeat, in solitude and in public. This impartiality creates trust. When people know your standard does not change, they know your word carries weight. Uncompromising standards are incompatible with self-pity. You cannot complain about the weight of your own code. The Stoic accepts discipline as identity. To suffer for principle is to prove it real. Each hardship endured for virtue becomes evidence of command. The weak seek comfort to escape responsibility. The strong find peace within it. The standard becomes serenity because it eliminates choice. To maintain high standards, you must separate compassion from tolerance. Compassion is understanding without surrender. Tolerance is understanding with surrender. The Stoic aids others without absorbing their chaos. To lower your standard in sympathy is to betray yourself. Strength helps best when it remains unmoved. People need example more than indulgence. The Stoic standards are built through repetition, not declaration. Words create illusion, repetition creates truth. Every time you act in alignment with your code, it becomes more natural. Eventually, standard becomes instinct. You no longer ask what is right. You act as what is right. That is the evolution of discipline into identity. High standards reveal mediocrity by contrast. Those who compromise will resent the uncompromising. The Stoic expects this. Integrity provokes weakness because it exposes it. Their calm under criticism comes from understanding this law of nature. Resistance from others is confirmation, not condemnation. The higher your standard, the more opposition it attracts, and the less it matters. Uncompromising standards are not rigidity for its own sake. They are alignment with reason. They ensure that emotion, ego, and environment never outweigh principle. The disciplined adapt without lowering values. Flexibility is permitted in method, never in moral core. The Stoic bends conduct to circumstance only when the law remains intact. This is balance through strength. A standard becomes sacred when it cannot be sold. Money, power, and comfort test loyalty to order. The Stoic passes these tests through detachment. Nothing external can purchase internal peace. When virtue is not for sale, the world loses leverage. The person who cannot be bought or bribed holds absolute freedom. The disciplined know that maintaining standards requires maintenance of self. Fatigue weakens discipline. The Stoic guards rest, solitude, and reflection not as luxury, but as necessity. The standard cannot stand on a broken foundation. To maintain order outwardly, one must renew it inwardly. Rest is not softness, it is structural repair for continued endurance. Uncompromising standards define relationships. The Stoic surrounds themselves only with those who respect their code. They do not demand agreement, only integrity. Weak company corrupts strength faster than failure. The disciplined choose solitude over delusion. To be alone in order is better than to belong in disorder. The Stoic understands that every time a standard is upheld under pressure, confidence grows. Self-trust is built through evidence. When you prove to yourself that you will not betray your code, faith in your own judgment solidifies. This faith becomes inner peace. You no longer doubt your strength because you have tested it repeatedly. To compromise once may seem small, but it rewrites identity. Each exception tells the mind that law is optional. The Stoic knows this danger well. They treat small violations as serious breaches. The strength to hold line on trivial matters prepares the mind for greater trials. Discipline in detail builds endurance in crisis. The Stoic standards create meaning. Without them, life becomes reactive, directed by impulse and convenience. Standards give shape to time and structure to will. They are the spine of existence. To lose them is to collapse inwardly. The disciplined live deliberately, not accidentally. Their consistency gives existence form. Uncompromising standards are not about perfection, they are about permanence. Perfection is unreachable, but permanence is sustainable. The Stoic knows they will fail at times, but never surrender principle. They correct instantly, without guilt or delay. The return to order is immediate. This resilience separates the strong from the self-indulgent. Failure is temporary. Compromise is decay. To enforce standards under chaos requires composure. The Stoic's calm is not detachment, but precision. They do not overreact to failure or success. Each is evaluated through the same code. This balance prevents emotional interference. The law remains unaltered by outcome. The disciplined see beyond momentary satisfaction. They protect long-term order. When standards become identity, peace follows naturally. The mind no longer argues with itself. Choices align automatically with truth. This harmony is rare and unmistakable. Others sense it as presence, an atmosphere of certainty that cannot be faked. The Stoic carries peace not because life is easy, but because principles are absolute. The world will always mock high standards because they remind it of its own weakness. The Stoic does not respond. Silence is the reply of the consistent. Their standards outlast criticism. Over time, even detractors recognize the strength of the unmoved. The disciplined do not need validation. Endurance is its own evidence. Uncompromising standards turn discipline into legacy. Each act of consistency builds reputation without marketing. Generations follow examples more than words. The Stoic becomes an archetype of stability, proof that order is possible. Their conduct writes philosophy into history. The code they live by becomes the lesson others inherit. In the end, uncompromising standards are not restraint, they are liberation. They remove indecision, fear, and regret. The mind is free when its path is fixed. The Stoic no longer asks what to do, they already know. Standards make freedom possible by turning chaos into clarity. To live this way is to live cleanly, firmly, and permanently, governed by truth, untouched by compromise. Endurance is not the act of surviving. It is the architecture of survival. It is the design of strength built layer by layer through repetition, pain, and restraint. The Stoic does not endure by accident. They construct endurance as deliberately as an architect constructs a fortress. Each decision, each hardship, each moment of restraint becomes a brick in the internal structure that cannot be dismantled by emotion or circumstance. Endurance is engineered, not inherited. The foundation of endurance is purpose. Without direction, persistence becomes wandering. The Stoic builds endurance upon principle, not desire, not emotion, not ambition. Purpose gives shape to suffering. It turns pain from chaos into material. Every challenge becomes usable, every hardship functional. What others call misfortune, the disciplined call construction. The first law of endurance is consistency. It is not intensity that creates strength, but repetition. Endurance does not announce itself in moments of crisis. It is built quietly through daily adherence to order. The Stoic rises, trains, works, and reflects regardless of mood. They do not chase feeling, they honor schedule. Consistency turns effort into identity. Over time, identity turns into immunity. Endurance is patience made visible. It is the refusal to break under delay. The world worships speed, the Stoic reveres duration. What lasts, wins. The weak rush for recognition, the strong invest in permanence. Endurance values the long view, decades over days, legacy over applause. The mind that understands time cannot be defeated by it. The architecture of endurance demands discipline over emotion. Emotion fluctuates, discipline sustains. The Stoic trains themselves to act without waiting for motivation. They know that effort given during fatigue is the purest form of strength. Comfort builds nothing. Every repetition under resistance becomes reinforcement, proof that the structure can hold weight. Endurance begins in the mind, but manifests in conduct. The Stoic designs mental architecture before physical motion. They create internal scaffolding through belief, reflection, and principle. Once the design is complete, action fills the form. The result is strength with symmetry, not chaos powered by adrenaline, but order powered by intention. The walls of endurance are made from hardship. Every difficulty faced consciously adds material to the structure. Pain is not the enemy, it is the architect's assistant. The Stoic learns to convert discomfort into stability. They analyze suffering, extract its lesson, and integrate it. Nothing is wasted. Even failure becomes reinforcement. A person who endures everything loses fear of anything. The Stoic treats fatigue as terrain, not opposition. The undisciplined see exhaustion as the end of capacity. The disciplined see it as the beginning of transformation. Fatigue reveals the limit, the exact point where new strength begins. Endurance grows by crossing that threshold daily. The more the body and mind meet this edge, the more the edge recedes. The architecture of endurance is minimalistic. It relies on simplicity, not complexity. The Stoic removes distractions, indulgences, and unnecessary decisions. Energy is conserved for what matters. Endurance requires economy. Every motion must serve purpose. This simplicity is not deprivation, it is precision. Excess weakens structure, focus strengthens it. The Stoics' endurance is moral as much as physical. It is not merely the ability to survive pain, but to remain virtuous under it. To endure without losing integrity, that is the highest strength. Many can persist, few can persist cleanly. The disciplined measure victory not by duration alone, but by dignity maintained during it. The architecture of endurance rejects drama. Suffering does not need spectacle. The Stoic suffers quietly, not because they are emotionless, but because emotion does not serve endurance. They understand that lament weakens will. Every complaint fractures the structure. Silence, by contrast, strengthens it. The fewer words spent on pain, the stronger the endurance that remains. Endurance teaches proportion. Every trial becomes smaller when measured against eternity. The Stoic views difficulty as temporary by definition. No storm lasts forever. No hardship is permanent. This perception reduces panic. Calm replaces desperation. Perspective becomes insulation against collapse. What others call unbearable, the Stoic calls passing. The architecture of endurance is self-repairing. Every hardship survived increases resilience. Damage does not weaken the structure, it informs future design. The disciplined learn from every crack and rebuild stronger. There is no permanent defeat, only incomplete construction. The Stoic never collapses. They rebuild cleaner, stronger, quieter. Endurance is forged in solitude. Isolation removes the distractions that soften resolve. The Stoic welcomes solitude because it clarifies purpose. Alone, the mind meets itself without disguise. Weakness is exposed, and exposure is purification. In solitude, endurance becomes intimate, a conversation between reason and struggle. Every minute spent alone strengthens inner architecture. The architecture of endurance requires equilibrium between rest and strain. The Stoic does not glorify exhaustion, they manage it. Endurance without restoration becomes erosion. Strength demands rhythm. The disciplined rest deliberately, not indulgently. Recovery is not escape. It is recalibration. The purpose of rest is continuation, not comfort. Endurance is the art of stability under chaos. The Stoic builds a system that does not rely on circumstance. When the world shifts, their rhythm does not. When outcomes fail, their conduct remains. This autonomy from condition is true strength. A person whose will depends on fortune has built endurance on sand. The Stoic builds it on structure, unshaken, unbending, timeless. The architecture of endurance integrates both severity and serenity. It is forged through hardship, but maintained through calm. The Stoic learns to suffer without anger, to persist without complaint. They do not fight reality, they outlast it. This balance between force and peace creates permanence. The strongest endurance is tranquil. The Stoic's endurance becomes invisible over time. It stops being noticed because it has become nature. Others see calm. They do not see the repetition that built it. True endurance does not require attention. It functions silently, like gravity. Its power is constant, not dramatic. The absence of display is proof of permanence. Endurance demands memory. The disciplined remember why they began. Purpose fades under fatigue. Memory restores it. Reflection is reinforcement. The Stoic revisits principle daily to keep direction intact. Forgetfulness is decay. Remembrance is renewal. Endurance without recollection of meaning becomes survival without purpose. The architecture of endurance rejects self-pity. Pity dissolves strength because it shifts focus from action to emotion. The Stoic replaces self-pity with gratitude for the test. Every hardship confirms their strength. The mind that welcomes trial no longer fears it. What once seemed punishment becomes opportunity. Endurance turns pain into teacher. Endurance requires detachment from result. The disciplined act without obsession over outcome. They measure progress by integrity, not success. When you endure only for reward, failure destroys you. When you endure for virtue, nothing can defeat you. The Stoic persists because persistence itself is principle. Endurance becomes its own justification. To build endurance, one must master repetition under monotony. Excitement cannot sustain longevity. The Stoic finds depth in routine. Each repeated task becomes meditation. The body works, the mind refines. Through this process, endurance becomes spiritual. Work becomes prayer. Repetition becomes rhythm. Effort becomes peace. The architecture of endurance is built in layers: physical, mental, moral, and spiritual. Physical endurance resists pain. Mental endurance resists distraction. Moral endurance resists corruption. Spiritual endurance resists despair. When these layers reinforce each other, the person becomes indestructible. The Stoic does not divide them. They train all as one. Endurance matures into serenity. What begins as resistance evolves into harmony. The Stoic no longer feels strained. They feel aligned. What was once effort becomes motion. Pain becomes neutral. The architecture no longer shakes under pressure. It vibrates with stability. This is the shift from survival to sovereignty. The Stoic endures not to prove strength, but to preserve clarity. Every hardship survived without corruption clarifies the self. Clarity is the reward of endurance. Confusion belongs to those who quit. The longer you withstand, the clearer you see. Endurance is the process of truth emerging through resistance. The architecture of endurance is immune to praise. Recognition adds nothing to it. The disciplined do not endure for applause. They endure for order. Praise fades. Structure remains. To seek validation is to weaken foundation. The Stoics' reward is endurance itself, the peace of knowing that nothing external decides their direction. Endurance also demands humility. The Stoic accepts limitation without resentment. They know that power has rhythm, that fatigue requires management, that failure instructs. Pride breaks what humility maintains. The disciplined bow to reality without surrendering to it. This humility keeps endurance flexible, preventing rigidity from becoming fragility. Endurance transforms fear into habit. What was once terrifying becomes routine. The Stoic desensitizes the mind through exposure. The body learns that survival is normal, not exceptional. Anxiety fades, replaced by repetition. This is not recklessness, it is conditioning. What was once chaos becomes rhythm. Endurance makes difficulty ordinary. The architecture of endurance relies on standards that cannot be negotiated. The Stoic does not adjust effort based on comfort. They maintain form under pressure. Their code dictates conduct even when emotion disagrees. Endurance without standard is mere stubbornness. Principle gives direction to persistence. This is why the Stoics' endurance builds character, not just survival. When endurance matures, it becomes grace. The disciplined move through struggle without bitterness. They carry calm inside fatigue, patience inside pain. Their endurance ceases to look like struggle and begins to look like peace. This is mastery in its final form, strength that no longer announces itself. Endurance, at its highest level, is silence. It does not argue, it does not justify, it does not demand recognition. It simply continues. The Stoic knows that time respects those who persist. Every day survived with order is proof of sovereignty. Endurance is not loud because permanence does not need volume. The architecture of endurance stands when all else falls. It is the last structure remaining after emotion, failure, and chaos collapse. The Stoic's endurance is not built to impress, it is built to last. It does not glitter, but it does not break. It carries history, weight, and clarity within its walls. That is how the disciplined outlast the undisciplined, not through force, but through structure. Endurance is the final proof of order. The final posture of the Stoic is neither withdrawal nor aggression. It is calm authority. The journey that began with restraint and endurance culminates in the stillness of dominion. Strength is no longer demonstrated, it is present in silence. Discipline has become nature, law has become identity. The Stoic stands not as an example of control, but as the embodiment of it. Nothing to prove, nothing to defend, nothing to seek, only the quiet gravity of mastery fulfilled. The self that once struggled for stability now radiates it. What was once built through repetition now sustains itself through rhythm. The mind no longer fights emotion, it commands it. The body no longer resists fatigue, it transcends it. Every motion aligns with reason. Every silence holds weight. The person has become their own environment, unshaken, self-contained, sovereign. Calm authority is the apex of discipline because it no longer requires explanation. Those who achieve it influence without intent. Presence alone corrects disorder. This is how the Stoic leads, not through persuasion, but through example so precise it reorganizes the chaos around it. Others sense the structure and instinctively conform to it. The world bends around consistency. The permanence of mastery is not loud. It does not broadcast itself through display or proclamation. Its power lies in the absence of contradiction. When every thought, word, and action reflect the same code, the self becomes seamless. Seamlessness is the highest form of strength. No fracture exists between principle and performance. This unity is peace disguised as power. Endurance, law, and calm merge into a single state of being. The Stoic has endured pain until pain lost meaning. They have lived by law until decision vanished. They have cultivated calm until emotion itself became disciplined. The result is stillness that moves the world. They act without disturbance, they speak without fluctuation, they exist without hesitation. This is command refined to its purest form. The disciplined no longer chase freedom because they have built it within themselves. Freedom is no longer escape from restriction, it is harmony with order. To act according to internal law is to be untouchable by external chaos. This is the Stoic's final realization, that the truest power is not control over others, but immunity to the unstable. Calm authority transforms perception. Every experience is seen through the lens of permanence. The Stoic no longer asks whether something is good or bad, only whether it aligns with principle. The world ceases to intimidate when it cannot deceive. To see clearly is to remain sovereign. Clarity is not the absence of emotion, but the dominance of reason within it. The one who lives by calm dominion no longer fears change. Change is movement. Movement obeys law. The Stoic moves with the same precision through gain and loss because both serve the same function, proof of consistency. The external cannot touch what is internalized as principle. Life becomes a continuation of order under different circumstances. True power no longer reacts, it directs. The Stoic does not wait for opportunity, they create alignment. The calm mind generates gravity. It attracts what matches its order and repels what does not. This silent influence is the essence of sovereignty. To live this way is to rule without ruling. The mind becomes its own empire. Strength, once expressed through struggle, is now expressed through serenity. The absence of turmoil is not emptiness, it is achievement. Every hardship conquered has refined stillness into command. The Stoic no longer measures growth by pain, but by peace. When peace remains constant under pressure, mastery has become eternal. The world cannot comprehend the calm of those who have conquered themselves. They will call it detachment, arrogance, or indifference. The Stoic does not explain. Explanation dilutes gravity. Understanding is unnecessary when truth is visible. Those who are still searching interpret silence as mystery. Those who have arrived recognize it as completion. The culmination of all discipline is elegance, power without aggression, wisdom without complication, endurance without noise. Elegance is the proof that force has been mastered. It is the aesthetic of control perfected. The Stoic's life becomes a seamless architecture of reason. Every action carries the same geometry, direct, deliberate, precise. Permanence is achieved when the self becomes principle. No external event can alter it, no emotional storm can bend it. The mind operates by timeless law, indifferent to the volatility of trend or opinion. This immovability is not stagnation. It is eternal motion within unchanging boundaries. The Stoic stillness is not lack of movement, but flawless coordination. Calm authority is also quiet compassion. The disciplined do not need to dominate others to prove strength. Their empathy is measured, grounded in respect, not sentiment. They assist without absorbing chaos, lead without coercing, correct without condemning. Their calm gives others permission to rise. Leadership through peace transcends leadership through control. The architecture of endurance culminates in balance, strength without rigidity, mercy without weakness, calm without apathy. The Stoic has become both foundation and movement. They endure not because they resist, but because they align. Resistance tires, alignment sustains. To flow without fracture is the mark of the perfected mind. The ultimate discipline is self-trust. The Stoic no longer doubts decision or direction. They have proven themselves through repetition, judgment, and reflection. Each action confirms the law within. This trust removes hesitation. Doubt once fractured power, now certainty reinforces it. Confidence born of principle is unbreakable. The disciplined no longer seek recognition. Reputation fades when compared to peace. The Stoic's value is internal and eternal. They need no witness because they have seen themselves completely. When the mind no longer hides, it no longer fears. Transparency within creates indestructibility without. The self becomes its own proof. Calm authority radiates through silence. It does not demand belief. It makes belief unnecessary. The Stoic does not seek to persuade, only to exist rightly. Right existence persuades on its own. Those who encounter such presence feel it before they understand it. Influence begins in vibration, not voice. The final proof of mastery is indifference to recognition. The Stoic's worth is independent of response. Praise and criticism dissolve into the same silence. Both belong to the external, and the external no longer holds jurisdiction. To live by one's own law is to be both ruler and subject of the same kingdom, complete, balanced, absolute. Endurance, restraint, calm, and law converge into simplicity. Complexity belongs to the untrained mind. The Stoic's life is a straight line, direct, unwavering, clear. Every motion arises from necessity, every word from precision. This simplicity is the final luxury of mastery. Nothing is wasted, everything is aligned. The highest form of order is invisible. It moves through life without friction, achieves without struggle, sustains without spectacle. The Stoic becomes indistinguishable from nature, constant, patient, unstoppable. They do not dominate the world. They harmonize with it until domination becomes irrelevant. To align with natural law is to outlast every artificial force. The Stoics' calm becomes mirror and standard. Those who encounter it are confronted with their own instability. Some will resent it, others will awaken by it. The purpose of mastery is not superiority, but illumination. To embody order is to remind others that order is possible. The disciplined do not preach philosophy, they animate it. The permanence of the Stoic mind lies in its detachment from time. They act in the present without being owned by it. Memory does not trap them, anticipation does not control them. The moment is enough, because principle transcends moment. When law governs every breath, each breath becomes infinite. The Stoic no longer distinguishes between doing and being. Every act reflects essence. To live becomes to teach. To move becomes to exemplify. Their life is a doctrine written in silence. No separation remains between philosophy and existence. Both are one, seamless and continuous. In the calm dominion of the Stoic, the world finds its counterweight. Where others hurry, they remain still. Where others react, they measure. Where others collapse, they stand. Their composure becomes the reminder that chaos is not inevitable, that peace is not weakness, that order is not oppression, but liberation. Presence itself becomes discipline manifested. The discipline of endurance and the calm of law fuse into immortality of conduct. The Stoic no longer fears death because death cannot touch what is timeless. Character endures beyond body. Principles outlive circumstance. The disciplined live in a form of eternity created through repetition, restraint, and reason. They have already transcended decay. The closing image of the Stoic is not one of triumph, but of permanence. A quiet figure standing firm amid motion, serene amid disorder, luminous without effort. The air around them carries stillness. The eyes convey knowledge of endurance mastered. Nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase, only the continuation of order through existence itself. To live as a Stoic is to live as law made flesh, to be calm in chaos, precise under pressure, and virtuous without witness. It is to be untouchable, not because the world cannot reach you, but because you no longer need to defend yourself against it. The mind has become a citadel, and the soul its sovereign. Discipline has turned into nature, endurance into identity, calm into power. This is the permanent form of mastery, the final shape of strength.